His professional journey is well documented. Practically a founder, CEO at HDFC Bank, which he led for 26 years. At the time of his retirement in October 2020, McKinsey noted that HDFC Bank was the highest valued financial institution in India and the 10th most valuable bank in the world. The Economist magazine highlighted that HDFC Bank delivered total shareholder returns of more than 16,000% under Aditya Puri, dubbing him the world's best banker. But today, our focus is on this book, Adityanama, the man behind the banker. And you couldn't ask for a more authentic account because Adityanama is written by Anita Smiley Puri, Aditya Puri's wife. It's an absolute pleasure to be talking to both of you today and together.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Your husband is famously private, Mrs. Puri. And, K.V. Kamath has also written in this book, Adityanama, that Aditya himself never sought the limelight, but his achievements caught the limelight. So, straight up, what did it take to get him to agree to a personal book about him?
So what happened is that on his 70th birthday, his retirement, I decided during COVID to surprise him. But I had written a coffee table book on him, which I did not publish, but just made it for him. And I wrote it in secrecy in the bathroom because I did not want him to know that I'm writing this book. And I presented it to him when he was 70. And he was so touched and he really didn't know about it. I was quite shocked because he was in the house because it was COVID.
Yes.
So I really had to work very hard at that, at keeping it a secret. But I managed and it surprised him no end and he loved it. He was almost in tears when he saw it. And that's when he decided that your latent desire since so many years to write a book on me, now I can see why you're so, wanting to do it, because when I see this book, it's a labor of love. So I think you should go ahead and write this sweet, small book, a happy book, just our anecdotes, of our life, nothing to do with the bank, nothing to do with his career. That's been done and dusted with. So,
and it is indeed a happy book, but it is also personal. And I'm asking you a straight question, Mr. Puri. Did you have any veto rights? Were there any bits that you took out?
So she carried on, and frankly, after 45 years, Manvi, you know when you've lost. And better do it gracefully than to have unpleasantness. My option, before reading the book, now I'm very proud. I think it is a labor of love. I think she's a fantastic writer. I wish I had known earlier. I had her draft all my speeches and all. That's the only thing I didn't delegate. But now I'm very, very proud of it. But was I hesitant even when she was writing? And if she had given me the option, answer would have been no.
Well, I want to start at the very beginning because that, in a sense, is where the book starts, when you first met. How you first met. You just met once. Then you absolutely lost touch. And then here you are.
Yes.
Married, 45 years. So take us back to that story because it's a really loving one.
Yes, it is a very sweet story that I was invited by his cousin. She was also fresh in Miranda House. I was also fresh in Miranda House. And it was just 2 weeks into our, getting into this very prestigious college of Miranda House that she came up to me and she asked me for this party that her cousin was throwing. And I was from a very conservative school called Lawrence School, Lovedale in Ooty. So I was actually shocked at, you mean it's a mixed party with boys and girls? She said yes. But as soon as I entered, she introduced me to her cousin Aditya. And somehow he didn't leave me and I didn't leave him the whole evening. And we were having a lot of fun together. And we just hit it off, and then suddenly
Party is
there was
over.
absolutely no connection for all these years. And again, when the proposal came, I was shocked. He was shocked that it's the same, person.
Because he'd actually been asking about
Yes,
you
yes.
in the intervening years,
Yeah.
wondering where
she's.
Smiley, Anita, where is she?
Yes, and he said, I want to marry her. Deepa, where's that friend of yours? So when the proposal came, he only wanted to see.
He got upset, in fact, Deepa. When you had the opportunity, you didn't speak up. Now, why are you irritating me?
But everything's fine when it works out in the end.
Yeah.
Because here you are,
Yes.
45 years later. Mr. Puri, in the book, Anita Puri describes you as someone who's always positive, bold, and sensible. And yet, when I read this book and I said, there's an invisible person in your life, invisible from a professional lens, who's been as positive, bold, and as sensible, and that's your wife, because she's literally taken all those leaps of faith with you along the way. During those early years of HDFC Bank, why and how was she a source of strength for you?
See, Manu, what happened was that it all sounded great. Come, we'll set up a world-class bank, this, that. But when you're sitting in a 2-acre house in Malaysia, and you've got a golf course here, and you got servants galore, and you got people to do everything, and then you come here, and the first time it hit me was I was on the single table and myself, and there was renovation going on the floor. And I said, oh shit, what have I let myself into? And but once I was there and I was telling people, come and join, as a team, which was very important. I couldn't have done it alone. So all the guys who came initially needed to have that same passion, and we brought it through as a team, telling them that if you believe in it and you can do your job well, I'm taking the best guys in each area, and I will be a first among equals. We will create the best bank. So we were all very sure, but the path is not so smooth as it seems to be, and I couldn't let my face down. The outside face had to be rah, 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 everything is great, it's working perfectly, but nothing works perfectly. So I'm actually, and then I would come back to my listening bag, my punching bag, my support, everything in the evening. And actually, without her, I couldn't have done it. And I don't know how she didn't divorce me.
In the book, Mrs. Puri, you talk about how people marvel at the focus and the passion that he brings to his work, whether it's expanding the bank, whether it's driving quarterly earnings. But there is so much evidence in the book of how much passion and focus he brings to, whatever plan he set out on. I mean, whether in the early days, moving to Citibank, Saudi Arabia, so that he had a plan. He wanted a better life for you as a family, and or it's just a piece of driftwood that you've seen on the beach, and then there is a mission that takes off. Yes. So, talk to us about something that sort of exemplifies his focus and passion, but outside of the bank.
Yes. So for me, I find when we bought our first home in Prabha Devi, so the building was still under construction, so there was no lift. But we were on the 10th floor. So I had developed early signs of arthritis. So the doctor said, no climbing stairs. But this house had to be made, right? And the architect and him would go every day climbing up 10 floors to see the work which was done or had to be done or which was complete or which was wrong. And even without the architect, in the evening after he finished work at HDFC Bank, he would go by himself to see what the work had been done, which had been given to the people, to the workers in the morning. He would climb up 10 floors twice a day to complete this home, which I couldn't do. And I would really be, dumbfounded at his, energy, his passion.
Mr. Puri, you're an urban legend. And I say you're an urban legend because, here we are in 2023, a man who's always gone home at 5:30, doesn't like to carry a cell phone. Mrs. Puri says in the book, you come back home and you're a do-nothing kind of guy. Although we just shared an example of which is the exact opposite, but you kind of switch off is what she's trying to say. when everyone keeps striving for work-life balance, I have to ask you for the umpteenth time, what was that formula of philosophy that you followed to get this balance?
Actually, if you remember the time when we joined Citibank, my God, we were so driven that nothing mattered other than the bank. And then somewhere along the line, 2-3 years down the line, I read this, the CEO of Coke, the shortest speech I believe a CEO has given. And he said in life, you have about 4 or 5 balls in the air. So your marriage, your friends, your hobbies, your health, and your job. And there is only one rubber ball in this lot, and that's your job. You lose it, you get another one. But if you ignore the rest of what's going to make your life pleasant, that's all ceramic. You crack it, and you're going to pay for it. So it's very important that you do not get so carried away with your so-called successes or think you are the best and become unidimensional. So I was not ready to be a unidimensional people. I love music. I like to garden. I like to trek. I like to play golf.
You like food.
I like food. I like my wife and sit with her and listen to music and travel. So I said, I can't be unidimensional.
I want to, delve into some of those sort of qualities that you've developed along the way. And again, people talk about, Mrs. Puri says in the book, you're able to focus on the goal,
yes,
no matter what the surround sound
yes,
is, no matter what's happening
yes,
in the environment. So whether it's driving quarterly earnings or growing the bank, and I keep coming back to that driftwood story because, gosh, it was an exercise from procuring to transporting to getting its original luster. But the question I want to ask is this just something you were born with, this ability to focus, or is it something that you've honed over the years, over the decades?
I think some among you must have that desire for excellence and focus and achievement. But you can fine tune it every year. And it does come about. Because without that focus, if you get lost in the collateral noise, you're not going to achieve anything. Then you can work till 10 o'clock and still not have what needs to be done. And I think she has a very apt quote in the book by Mark Twain that in this world there are 2 groups of people. One are those who achieve and one are those who claim to achieve. And the first group is in short supply. Mrs.
Puri in her book also, that theme comes across. It's all about the team, putting the team first, attributing the success to the team. Again, you're a role model. And therefore, I'm asking you these questions. What are some of the principles that you apply when it comes to team management? And let's just approach it this way.
See, first you have to understand that you can't know everything. So you hire a fellow for a particular job because he's an expert. You can provide him some input, but if he's not competent, don't keep him. But you must give him respect, then he'll work twice as hard. Discussion up to a point, which I learned from my forces background, is very good. And then finally, if it doesn't, you don't get a uniform decision, majority prevails. But once that's done, you walk like the army. People think that when you say team, it's the 10 people reporting to you. When I say team, I talk about 150,000, and she'll tell you the instances. 150,000 people who work for HDFC Bank who feel we make the bank, and that's what they did. And ultimately, the whole lot have to believe that this is a common goal that we're going to make happen. It's not Mr. Puri's goal, it's our goal. And second is, you've got to have compassion and decency. There won't be a single fellow who would tell you that if we want help, will you go to Mr. Puri? They'll say yes. And they will get help. So you got to make them feel a part of the success because they are. You got to make sure that they feel that they will be looked after and they're important to the bank and not a cog in the wheel. And you have to walk the talk.
want to talk about, calculated risk, because that's, again, something that sort of echoes in the book. Whether you took a calculated risk to leave India, go to Citibank, Saudi Arabia, then to quit Citibank, start HDFC Bank. And of course, getting the risk reward right at the bank is like a constant. It's a given. Is there a formula to that, Mr. Puri?
First formula is Rab di Mehr. Okay, so God's grace must be there. And then if you don't take some risk, then you then have to compromise where you reach. But your objective of taking that risk should be very clear. So going to Saudi Arabia, the objective was that I don't have to really work, because you used to get 50% per diem allowance. You used to get a higher salary. You got 5 holidays in a year, and you got $1 salary. And I don't want to tell you the salary, but it was enough that when I finished, I really didn't need to work. And the terminology used in Citibank for this kind of money, I don't want to tell you, you would know it. It starts with an F. But that was the objective. And the day we had that, then I said, okay, now I want to make something. And I must here tell you about Nanupam Nani, my boss, and my mentor, and somebody who helped me a lot and really looked after.
And his wife also spotted your talent very early on.
Chitra. So I got to be grateful to. So I made him send me to Saudi. And then in Saudi, after some time, I said, now this life is not for me, because she had a tough time. That time, Al-Khobar in 70, what?
It was 82.
1982.
There was nothing there.
Yeah, back and beyond, nothing. And so it was very tough on her. So I rang up Nanu. I said, Nanu, now you call me back. So Nanu says, rascal, first you want to go, now you want to call me back. What is your guarantee? I said, I give you my word. He said, okay, that's good enough for me. And so then he brought me back to Delhi to come back. Because there again, I felt, okay, if I work hard, I'll make it. Now I have the money. I don't have to be tense about anything. And at the same time, I think I should prove myself professionally also. So some risks you have to take.
Yeah.
And believe in yourself. That's why, but she helped me more. So whenever I stop believing in myself, she says, you're a twit. I know you got that. How can you even say such things?
But the question I wanted to ask you, Mr. Puri, is this. What gives you greater satisfaction? All your well-documented successes as a banker? Or all of this other big component of your life? I mean, your children, Amit and Amrita, your grandson, Rian, all of the other hats that you play, son-in-law?
I would have to say satisfaction personal is the other half. I'm very happy. I'm very grateful that I did very well professionally. And that's a different satisfaction. But things that touch your heart, if the grandson says, he's my best dadu. Or if my daughter says, he's my man. Or if my wife rarely says he's a good husband.
Oh, come on. She wrote all about that in the book.
But I didn't. I only got to know after 45 years. I got beaten up regularly. Or like what we did in the bank, and much before CSR became an issue, and I presented to the board. And I said, I want to do this. We've got to give back. So we actually jointly in the bank, and all the branch people here again, as a team, we thought we should get scale and make it, is the uneducated but skilled. And they were being used as daily laborers. So we said, why can't we have a program where we make them self-sustainable? Give them the finance, give them the training, So I think we helped about 14 million families. And the CSR program in HDFC Bank is unbelievably documented. We brought 1,000 or 1,200 villages up to the level of Eastern Europe, solar, water, etc. We looked at education of children, and some 1.6 million children, we changed the standard of what we're doing. We looked at improving agriculture and health. Now that was, when you talk to the parts of the bank that handle that, they almost got priority when I went there. And it was great fun because they needed to be committed more than me. And when they saw that they were being appreciated, wow.
So that was satisfying.
Yes.
Mrs.
And of
Puri,
course, now my grandson is smarter than me. I never got these straight A's and whatever, 3.924, whatever GPA. He's much smarter than me.
So that also gives him a very big thrill.
yeah, and a continuing source of satisfaction, I'm sure. Mrs. Puri, this bundle of energy is, I wouldn't say retired. He's got lots of things going on, but, definitely not at the same pace that he's been used to. And so the question is, how are you doing? How are you coping? Is life throwing up a whole new paradigm now or what? But I want you to
yes,
really capture.
I really want to read this out. It's the conclusion of my book. And it talks about, Aditya, how he has smoothly moved on to the next chapter of his life. And I'm so happy to see him passionately pursue his dreams of providing quality, affordable healthcare across the length and the breadth of the country. He's providing credit to the underprivileged and democratizing the benefits of technology to reduce disparity and environment protection. He's loving the time he can spend with the family and the time he has now to do everything from playing golf to traveling to listening to music. As Omar Khayyam said, a book of verses underneath the bough, a flask of wine, a loaf of bread, and thou beside me, singing in the wilderness, and wilderness is paradise now. This is from Omar Khayyam, the Rubaiyat of the Omar Khayyam. And this is him.
She sings well also.
I'm so glad you read that out because, that struck me while I was reading the book. The quotes that mark the end of each chapter in the book are so appropriate. They distill the essence
of that chapter.
That period of your life
Yes.
and that period of your experiences. Once again, thank you both so much for your time. And I'm so glad that I've got this opportunity to talk to both of you. And we haven't talked banking, and that's a miracle. So thank you.
Thank you for having us over.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's been lovely.